Okay, guys, hope you all can hear me. My name's Stuart Greenfield. I'm the Sales Director for Advanced Supply Chain. Today I'm going to talk to you about returns to revenue, leveraging Recommerce and repair services on how we can maximize profit, people, and look after the sustainability. So again, like I said, I'm Stuart Greenfield, I'm the Sales Director for Advanced Supply Chain. Who are Advanced Supply Chain? We are a 3PL offering for full fulfillment services as well as specializing in returns and value-added services. Why am I here to be able to talk around Recommerce and repair services? Advanced Supply Chain are owned by a company called Recommerce, and Recommerce is all around the circular economy, specializing in technology and solutions to help deliver sustainable solutions and close the gap for customers looking at how to improve their supply chain moving forward. We do that through tech solutions, through operational solutions, and through reporting and insights to be able to provide data to meet your sustainability goals. What I want to try and talk around is what the current landscape is in returns and what the challenges people are facing, and then what we then see of how you can improve that through repairs and also through Recommerce. Complexities of supply chains are becoming more and more complex as you're adding different modes in with D2C models, B2C, marketplace fulfillment. Stock is becoming fragmented. Retailers and brands aren't quite sure how to handle those returns when they come back in. Whether it's stock that's coming through from an e-commerce order, whether it's stuff that's coming back in from a marketplace, managing those returns as they come back into your DC and knowing how to deal with those returns is very, very important. Budget. Always a big one for people. Cost for returns is going up. We see that carrier costs are increasing. We're seeing that the processing costs within the warehouses for people as well. If you haven't got a robust tech solution or a robust return solution, the cost of those returns can be prohibitive for people to actually turn those returns around very, very quickly and process them and get them back into good stock. As retailers and brands are keeping their stock as low as they possibly can at the moment, it's pivotal that the money that's held up in those returns, they process as quickly as they possibly can and get back into stock so they can go on to resell as quickly as possible. And when we're talking about resale, which we'll go through from here, it's whether they can go back into sale as a grade A product, as full RRP, or whether you can then route that stock via Recommerce platform or repair it and sell it on your own website as a nearly new or as sold as seen. Having a solution in place to make sure that when the stock comes back into you can be refurbished, salvaged and turned around very, very quickly is critical. Not only from an operational perspective, but from a tech perspective. As we touched on before, the cost of returns are becoming higher if you don't have a return solution in place. We have a tech that we use in-house, which is our own in-house system, which allows us to route products through very, very quickly. If you're taking away some of those operational touch points by having a solution in place from a tech solution, it will reduce your costs overall as a business. Compliance, everyone's favorite word. Compliance is becoming more and more important moving forward. There is currently 16 different legislations that are being changed around Europe that are going to affect the textile industry coming in over the next few years. When we're talking around EPR legislation, everyone knows what's going on with EPR and no one knows what's going on with EPR. There's different legislation in around about 27 different countries currently, and as that's going through, it's constantly changing. So staying ahead of the game, understanding what those compliance requests are and what we need to do, understanding and then looking what else you can do to support that moving forward. Looking at how you can put digital product passports in and the movement in that to capture data at source so you can then manage your returns better by capturing data at the point you're manufacturing your products. Knowing what the product's coming in, knowing where it's coming from, knowing what the fabrics, the content of your packaging, so that you can report all of that back in to fulfill all your obligations as a brand and as a retailer. If you're not doing that now, you really need to start looking at how you can maximize and could get that compliance sorted as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you will end up falling foul of it moving forward. Forward-thinking retailers are now starting to see returns as a revenue stream. For years, returns has always been seen as the dark part of logistics, the dirty part that nobody ever wants to look at. Now people are realizing, actually, we've got this stock that's coming back in. You can see on there, for every 1 million in sales, £100,000 of that will be cost for returns. That's a hell of a lot of money of stock that you've got potentially in your warehouse or in your supply chain that's come back as a return that you're not touching, you're not working through and getting back into sale as quickly as possible. Looking at different solutions to do that by processing those goods as quickly as possible and finding the right exit route. And when I'm talking about exit route, that can be on a sort of like Grey Bee branded website. It can be through a Recommerce partner, and it can also be through recycling, looking at how you're recycling those products properly. We obviously know from a point of view from textiles recycling, the network isn't as big as it needs to be within the UK and EU markets, but that will develop over the next few years. So we need to make sure that when you're looking at what you're doing as a retailer, as a brand, you're thinking forward about the solutions and the revenue that you can generate from those returns. Visibility is the other key thing. When we talk to retailers and brands, they've either got not enough data or too much data to know what to deal with it. Having a look at that data, making sure when that data comes through, you're managing that data in the right way. Working with an outsourced partner like ourselves, like our sister company Rebound Returns, we can give you a lot of visibility to lots of different data within that within the return sphere. What the product, when the data is coming back in, why are people returning it? Is it down to size? Is it down to product failures, etc., etc.? Capturing all that data as you're feeding those returns back in will allow you to push that back upstream to back into your manufacturing. So whether it's changing the manufacturing of the product, changing the packaging of the product as it's coming out, to make sure that when the returns then start to filter through and you've changed those, so that some of those products won't be returned again. Having access to that data and insights as well from source, from the wider economy group, when we're talking around Valpak and taking data capture from source, is how you then feed that information out about those returns back into the supply chain and back into your compliance reporting across the EU and globally. So talking about repair services, how can repair services drive profit and sustainability for you as a business? First of all, it extends the product life cycle by cleaning, refurbishing, repairing and repackaging. Now, again, we're not expecting every single retailer or every single brand to have the capability or the ability to do this within their own DCs. Working with an outsourced partner like ourselves, or even trying to do this in-house, is very, very key to make sure that you can extend the life of those products. And I'm not just talking about fashion products. Obviously, from a point of view of textiles, you can do ozone cleaning, you can do sewing, you can do repairs on those products, but also on homewares, you can do pat testing, you can do reboxing of items. A lot of people that you have electrical items that come back in will need to be pat tested and try to be reboxed. A lot of people don't want to then try and sell those items because they're not going out in an original box. We work with a couple of electrical suppliers within the UK that when the products are coming back in, we're doing the pat testing on those items and we're reboxing them into unbranded brown boxes with an A4 label on the outside which clearly states what those particular items are. These guys are now selling those products as nearly new on their website and still recovering 70 to 80% of RRP of those products rather than it going into landfill or just being disposed of. As you can see on there, 75% of textiles are currently ending up in landfill. In the EU alone, there is 7.5 million tonnes of textile waste per year that is going into landfill. Only 30% of that is being recovered and recycled where possible. We're talking about grading the item quality as well to match the retailer standards. Now, this is always a big thing that we find that retailers and brands feel that if they're going to outsource their returns, they feel like they're losing control of the returns and losing control of the quality of the items and understanding where that's going to go into the market. It's key that whenever you outsource, you look at how you put that grading into place. We work very closely with all of our brands and retailers' QC departments to define the quality standards that are acceptable for you as a brand or a retailer to be able to sell those items as a grade A, as a grade B, or a grade C product. We also need to look at the commercial viability of salvaging each of those products. So when we're talking about the commercial viability, we're looking at what is the value of that item. And that's not based on the RRP that it necessarily sold at. It could be the RRP of the product at that time as somebody's returned it. As people are taking longer to return items, if it's got a 60-day warranty, when those products are coming back in, you want to be able to look at those particular products and say, right, is it commercially viable to salvage this product or what should we do? We build into our tech to look at what the cost is for those salvage. So when we're handing and grading an item, we'll look at an item and we'll say, right, this has got, I'm going to choose textiles because it's easier to talk through. From the point of view of textiles, it's got a shirt, might have a dirty mark on it, it might have a slight rip on the sleeve. And what you end up doing is you'll build that into the back of the tech to say, to fix the spot cleaning, to get the mark off on here, it's going to cost you, again, £1 to spot clean it. It's going to cost you £1 to sew that item to get it back into good state. If you know that that item is worth £15, £20, it might be worthwhile doing. If it's a £5 t-shirt, it's probably not worth doing the salvage. But what you might then need to look at is how you are then exiting it, because it's still wearable. People will still buy it. So you may want to then look at using a Recommerce partner to put that back out into the market rather than just selling it to recycling. By doing this as well, it reduces landfill. looking at the stock that you're sending out, there are a lot of people, and I know, but right the way across, fashion, homewares items that are literally, they do not know what to do with their returns. They don't have the capability to box. Some people don't have the drive or the need to or the want to do it. But as legislation changes, we need to really look at what we're putting into landfill and how we can reduce that wherever possible. So it's looking through those particular items, salvaging the ones that you can, and the ones that you can't, disposing of them responsibly. Having a look at separation of textiles, separation of batteries, waste, etc., and making sure that when they then go out, putting them into the right recycling routes. That is trying to meet the growing demand. We're now seeing more and more suppliers, more and more customers now and consumers driving the sustainability side of things. Retailers are, some of the millennials now, 71% of millennials are more likely to buy from a brand who has a sustainability-based ethos than they will be if there's nothing available at all to show them exactly what they're doing with those products. We're talking about the regulatory demands as well and circular practices. The market of repairs currently is 9 billion a year. This will move to £32 billion by 2030. That's a huge step, but it's what we're seeing from the drive. And it is legislation that is driving these changes. And it is, like we say, retailers and brands that have got that much inventory tied up and budget tied up in these products, they need to make sure they maximise the revenue out of those products. So how can you use Recommerce as a commercial strategy? Turning operational pain points, the returns, into resale profit opportunities. There is huge amounts of revenue that you can make out of these products as they're coming back in. People think when you're looking at Recommerce, they're thinking, is it going to detract from my brand? If I'm selling used items or slightly damaged items, is that going to take away from the full resale price of a full item at a grade A price? No, it doesn't. What you can do, there are quite a few brands now who are starting to sell products on their own website where they're selling as used and new next to each other. What that's starting to do is it's making new people buy from that brand because they can buy them at a slightly reduced price. And when they get the product, they see the quality of the product and they understand the brand and they love the brand. That has got a 30% conversion rate currently to making people buy from that brand at full price for the future. So how you look at that and divide what you're doing, turn those profits in, is really down to you guys to understand your customers, your price points of your products, and how you could then list them as from a commercial standpoint. You need to set the boundaries of the levels of damage to items that you want to sell, and whether you do that yourself or whether you work with a Recommerce partner. Unlocking margin recovery by reselling, not writing off return goods, we talked about already, but integrating returns from omnichannel. We talked about the complexities of the supply chain, how we now have omni-channel returns, we have D2C marketplace, so it's fragmented stock. Having Recommerce as an opportunity for you will allow you to route stock from all of those different routes within your warehouse and sort that stock out. So it could be return goods that are perfectly good, but you are end of season, so you don't want to sell them online anymore. It might be that you had a load of stock in your warehouse at end of season and you want to route them through. Also, as I say, quickly route non-inventory stock down to the next destination to maximise the value. You want to make sure as these items are coming back into you, especially for things like fast fashion, if you've got items that are coming back in but you don't want to sell them because they're not current season, you want to get them listed as quickly as possible so you can maximise the revenue for that season, because it still will be in style, but it might be 2-3 months late. So when we talk in Recommerce, there are quite a lot of different Recommerce partners in the market. Advanced Supply Chain and Economy Group have now paired with a company called Trove. The guys from Trove are here today. I don't know if they're in the audience here. They're at the back. Nice to see you guys. We've worked with Trove now, and we're setting a solution live both in the UK and the EU, where we will be doing all the grading based on Trove's technology and the fulfillment for all of their orders that are going through. When you're looking at the opportunities for Recommerce, we're talking about the different streams. So there are different streams that you can look on how you can get that stock into you as a partner from a partner. First of all, there's digital trading. Now, this is when you've got staff, people at home who have got products that they want to trade in, and they want to trade it in online. They can send in, look at what they're returning, return those items in. You can give them a discount code or a voucher to spend on full items online at that time. So it's very, very quick. Show them exactly what you want. Give them a code, they can then shop online, replace the item that they may have sending back into you. You get that product come in, they're happy from the sustainable side of things, but they're also then getting discount off of an item that they actually truly want. Same with the store trade-in. Store trade-in, so if you've got the ability to, if you've got storefronts, bricks and mortar shops, the ability for your customers to take in a return, take in an item that's out of season, maybe slightly damaged, trade it into the store, take it into the store, you then give them a discount, again, potentially on a 10%, 20%, whatever it might well be, to spend in store over either straight away or as a voucher for them to come back at another time. You will then, the stores take all that stock in, pull it all together, route it back into the warehouse will then take it in. We will do a grading on that item to see the standard of it. We'll do all the checks on those products to say, okay, yes, it's got a mark here, it's got a rip on the sleeve, but it's perfectly good. We will do some salvage on that, again, if it's commercially viable, to put that product to do some of the repairs, or it will be taken photographs of that product exactly how it is and listed on a Recommerce platform for you to then purchase. You've got peer-to-peer as well. So peer-to-peer is slightly different in the sense of you may have somebody who's got an expensive handbag that they've got at home but that they don't want any longer, but then somebody else may be wants that particular item again. So it's more like the Vinted model, but it's a peer-to-peer solution where you can actually sell items between peer-to-peer and have a carrier solution that delivers directly between the two different parties. Works very, very, very well for high-end items. Resale sites. So when we're talking about the resale sites and how you set this up, there are different ways for Recommerce platforms to be set up. And now whether that is, it's a standalone Recommerce company who have their own website and you sell products on their website through their behalf. With the clever thing that Trove do is Trove will also set up the website so it looks like your website. So you may have a link within your own website that is a link through to the backend, which could be a reuse type solution for that product, and that can sit alongside of it. You can have a link off of your page that jumps straight onto the Trove in the back end of the website, which looks exactly like yours, but it's just for used products. With that as well, you can also, some of the people now I talked about at the beginning, some retailers and brands are starting to look at how do they put the two next to each other. There was a fear from some brands that if you've got products that are selling at half the price because they've been used on a website next to a new product, people aren't going to buy the new products. Well, the results, and again, talk to the Trove guys on this, they'll give you the exact figures, but on there you will now see that actually what it's doing is moving new buyers to that particular brand. They're buying that used item, but they're also buying new items at the same time. So it's actually increasing sales and also keeping that brand reputation, bringing brand loyalty to the customers as well. From resale sites, and you can have different commerce integrations. So it doesn't just have to be sold through your own platform or through Trove's platform, which is set up yourselves. You can also integrate it into the likes of eBay and sell products through that routing as well. From optimizing the revenue, we talked about this from the returns processing. When the items are coming back in and we're looking at the products when they come in, you can have a clear definition of what items need to be processed, what needs to go back onto good stock, and what is acceptable levels of damage within those items. What we will do for there is we'll do that separation of those items, we'll do the photography, we'll place them on sale, and any of the items that we can't place on sale, we will then route through until the correct exit route management, and that through is normally from a recycling perspective. So having tech in place is massively key to making sure that your return solution is robust and will work properly for you moving forward. AI-led decision engines can automate triage, so when stock comes in and we know exactly what that different product is, we know what the SKU is, we know the reason why it's coming back in, you can actually route that stock item to resell or recycle as quickly as possible. So if you know it's an item that you're never going to be able to salvage for one reason or another, instead of being able to handle every single item, you can have something that scans the product code, tells you where it needs to go, and it can route it into a different direction within the warehouse, so the operation can easily identify those units and route them correctly. Integrated returns platforms also will allow you to do first touch decision making. When we build our tech for our returns software, we build it from the operator up. So we try and remove as many touch points as possible where we can. We talked before about the cost rising for returns. The way to do that is by taking as many operational touch points out as you possibly can, getting digital returns information to show why is that item coming back in. You scan in the parcel, you scan in the return. It comes up straight away with the information of why the why the consumer's returning that particular item. Once you've then got that product, you can then do the grading on it very, very quickly. To improve speed, what we do in our warehouse is we grade everything when it comes in. We'll look at the items, we'll unpack it, we'll do assessments based on quality checks. With its fabrics, it might be sniff test. I know it sounds disgusting, but yeah, sniff test. We'll check all of the items to see whether they've been worn, is there any marks on it. At that point, we will identify the first fault only that's on that particular item. If the item's got a fault, we'll separate it and we'll route it dynamically into a secondary pot, which then goes to a specialist team who will then look at those particular items. If it's grade A, it'll straight away be reboxed, rebagged, refolded, and got back into sale as quickly as possible. We're trying to get these items back on sale within 24 hours of them hitting our DC. We do not want this stock sat for long, so it needs to be routed as quickly as it comes into the warehouse. When you have grade B stock that's coming there, what that does, we move it to a second team who will then do that investigation to see exactly what needs to be done to that product to get it back to a commercially viable unit. Only at that point will we then look at the commercial viability and see how we route it going through. But all of those checks are done within the system. Once we do that grading to say, okay, it needs to have, and I'm going to use the same example, it needs to have a sew, it needs to have a spot clean to get this back to grade A, our system would dynamically route that through the most likely to fail process first. So for that example, sewing is the most likely to fail. Spot cleaning you're going to do straight away and you're most likely to get mark out. So it will do the most likely to fail item first. You do the processing on that. If you then complete that task and you do what you need to do, you then move it to the next step until it gets through. If at that point it fails, automatically you can only grade it grade C. So all of these touch points we are literally doing on the touchscreen computers within the warehouse to make sure the operator doesn't have to keep scanning, keep moving products around, so it speeds up those returns as quickly as possible. We have reduced processing times to around 40 to 60% of a standard return service by putting this tech in place. We talked about it speeding up the first flows, and also it enables first touch decision making to reduce bottlenecks. One of the big things we see with retailers and brands who are running their own returns operations is that they have the headaches of those products in their DC. They want to focus on the picking and packing and getting the items out the door, and it's always the returns that takes the backseat, and we'll do those at a later stage. There's so much revenue tied up in those returns that sat in your goods in area, and we know what it's like. You'll let them go, you'll let them go, you'll let them go, and suddenly you'll end up with 500 pallets worth of returns that either are out of season or you don't know what to do with, and then you'll end up selling them off to a jobber or whoever, making £120 per pallet, rather than retaining the value in those items and processing through very, very quickly. The data and insights, learning from your return as well, using that tech to identify the reasons why returns are coming in and the damage or defects of those particular products. Taking that information allows you to feed it back upstream to your manufacturers, to your design team, to work through and say, okay, these are the main issues we're seeing with these particular products. We can do that right down to SKU level to identify the main SKUs, 10 top 20 SKUs for that month, of what the main defects are, what the main problems are, and identify those as early as possible so they can start to be moved, change the design, and then move it into next season's generation. By having a smarter return solution in place, will allow you to increase, we see at the moment for solutions being put in place, around about 10 to 20% increase in customer satisfaction scores, because they know their returns are coming in, they know they're getting processed, and they know they're getting their refund as quickly as possible. The other big side of it is sustainability. We talked about it a little bit through here. Within the economy group, there is many different businesses within the group, including Valpak, which is all around compliance and data packaging. Many different reports we have in there around compliance. So we are now setting up our own EPR PROs in several different countries. Feel free to scan the QR code, reach out to Valpak and have a look at exactly what we can do. From a sustainability side of things, what it will do is it will allow you to give the information into EU laws, global laws, to make sure you're hitting your compliance goals, you're giving the correct information back into them. It also will then build brand trust and consumer trust that you as a business are following your sustainability drives. It's not greenwashing information to say you've done this, you are actually doing it, and you can prove it by using the tech and the reporting that we will be able to provide through for you too as well. You see on there some of the examples. Smarter return solutions can lower CO2 emissions by reducing up to reverse logistics by up to 25% through consolidation. As we are now shipping more and more shipments globally, e-commerce can go global. When you've got those shipments that are coming out and you've got returns coming over, let's say coming from the US, if your manufacturers are sending out from the UK, you've got those returns that are going over to the US, you've got maybe going all throughout Europe. If you haven't got a central hub where you can return those process those returns within the local market, you're sending all those individual shipments back into your DC, and that can be done from Europe or from the UK, wherever you're managing that through. Obviously, we touched on before, Rebound Returns are our sister company, and the way that we work with Rebound is we have a global network of local hubs. So when your return is sent, let's say it's coming from Spain, the Spain return will go straight into a hub in Barcelona. That will then be scanned to be the local hub to say, I've got this particular item. You can then do a refund to the customer very, very early within that process. But what it also allows you to do is hold that product, as many different returns that will come back in, you collate them all together, you box them all up, and then you can then route those back when you've got enough. So whether that be a box full, pallet full, or full load, really depends on the volumes that you've got going through. Once you're doing that, you're consolidating them, you're reducing the CO2, and you're also reducing cost, but you're also improving your customer experience by getting the customer a refund as quickly as possible. So again, without an effective return strategy, 1 in 5 items returns ends up destroyed or dumped, which is shocking when we look at it. I've been to see retailers in the past who don't know how to handle returns, they can't rebox, they can't relabel, and instead of actually figuring out how to do it, they are just dumping those products, and there's so much revenue that's involved in it, and from a sustainability drive, people can't do that anymore. So how do we deliver value as a business? And this is my last slide, so I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions if there are any. So what we do as a business, we combine end-to-end and reverse logistics solutions with repair work all in-house. So we do repairs for multiple different product types. We do cannibalization of parts. We handle probably in excess of 160 to 170 million returns a year. And when those volumes come back through, we are doing the full grading on those items, and we're doing the repair in-house. We also work with a number of different partners, so we don't claim to be able to do the repair on every single item. There might be specific repairs for specific garment types, whether it be Gore-Tex, whether it be denim. So we will work with outsourced partners to do that specific work that needs to be done. But the number of items that come through with that product type don't make it worthwhile for us investing in all that machinery. The same with electrical items. We can do electrical items, we can do pat testing when those products come in, we can rebox them and do what we need to do, but there might be certain product types that need to be routed back to a specific manufacturer or a specific supplier, because there may be lots of different pressure tests and other tests that need to be done, including things like iPhones, iPads that might need to be wiped to the data from a GDPR perspective, but then they'll need to be routed back to somebody who does the specific checks and repairs on those. So having a return solution in place that will give you that all of that in-house work in-house where you can possibly do it, but then working with partners externally gives you that flexibility to move everything out of your own DCs. We manage the resale readiness, compliance and repackaging all under one roof. So when the products come in, we will rebag, we'll re-kimble, we'll re-swing tag, we'll rebox. Like we said before, it could be a brown box with a label on the outside, but at least it gives you that ability to sell those products. One of our customers we work with in the UK, they were literally selling off pallets of work of electrical items and toys for around about £120 per pallet until we put this solution in place for them. We now, whenever an item comes back in, we are doing a pat test on it, we're reboxing it into an unbranded brown box and then putting a label on the outside of it. That now gets listed on their own website as a nearly new product, and they are getting 60 to 70% of RRP back on those products. And customers sometimes don't realise it's coming in a brown box. They're not expecting to see as an e-commerce order that bright shiny box every single time it comes out, as long as the product is in it and it's working. The other thing that we do is cannibalization of parts as well. So one of the retailers we work with, they sell lawnmowers. So what we want to do when we get lawnmower returns that come back in, we'll take the wheels off them, we'll take handles off, we'll take parts of it away. People would rather you send out, if they contact customer service and say, I've got a broken wheel on my new lawnmower that's arrived, they don't want you to send them out with a full new lawnmower. It costs you a hell of a lot of money, but what they want you to do is send out that spare part and they can replace it themselves. It shows sustainability, it shows that you've got a drive to do this as well. There's also with somebody that sells cushions in packs of 3, cushions that have arrived when they've gone to a DC, there's dirty marks on one cushion. They were throwing all 3 cushions into a bin. It drives me mad. But so what we now do is we then take those, again, kind of cannibalization. We take the 2 cushions, wait for another one comes in, fit in that set, build that pack back up, and then we'll put it back into circulation for them as well. We talked out again about provides insight-led routing to maximize value recovery. We work very, very closely with our brands and retailers we work with to make sure that we've got the correct data flowing through to be able to provide that visibility for them based on your RRP, current RP of that product as well. Our Vector Bounce is the name of our returns system. Our WMS in-house is called Vector. Reduces reduces time to resale by up to 60% because of that dynamic routing. As soon as it comes in, we're diverting it in the right way and making sure that then the product can get to the exit route, whether that be full price or Recommerce as quickly as possible. And retailers using our returns processing have seen 30 to 50% lower returns processing costs. We talked before about having the right tech in place, having the speed, having the knowledge, having the staff to train up. Speed to competency on our tech in our warehouse is 2 weeks. Some of the other companies we work with are 7 to 8 weeks competency to speed. So we're doing things in the right way and we train our staff. We run with around about 95% FTE as well because we look after the staff and they enjoy working with us. So that's an overview of our solutions, and we do work very, very closely with all of our partners to work towards their sustainability goals. Hopefully that gives you a good overview. I think I've got 10 minutes left, which is what I've got told to leave for questions. So over to you guys. If there's any questions, I've got this very random box with a microphone in it. I have no idea why. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm quite happy to throw it out. Or if not, feel free to add them onto Slido and I'll check on here. But thank you very much. Any questions? Doesn't look like it. Oh, it's one at the back. I don't know if I can throw it that far. I'm not signed a waiver. Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, Mirosław Marciniak from West Wing.
Nice to meet you.
Question, do you have any experiences on pre-found? And then how do you handle false returns in case of pre-found?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with, not so much on pre-found as we define it, but from a fraudulent returns basis. Yes, we work very, very closely with the brands. When products come in, working with the quality, with the pictures that we will have on products. So the information that we get from a returns flow is we would expect a product file from our supplier or brand, which gives us all the details, ideally including a JPEG of that product. So when it comes back in, we can do the visual checks, checking things like location of badges or on fabrics, how the stitching looks as well. So making sure those products will come back in and identify them. Fraudulent returns from I suppose, tech and basis isn't something that necessarily we get involved in. It'll be more from a rebound returns, but identifying products when they come back in is all based on the quality that we work with our brands and look at identifying them, us telling us what to watch out for, identifying those as soon as we possibly can when they come in.
But what do you do in case when customer will send you item B instead of item A, and it's worth 10 euros, for example?
Yeah, so we will do that. So we have the ability in the system when the product comes back in, if we're expecting, from a digital returns perspective, if we've got the notification of what's coming in, we would get that order feed again through from the customer, from the brand. That will show up on our system. So when we scan the parcel, when it comes back in, it will tell us what we're expecting, the different SKUs within that order. We will then highlight, let's say, bit technical details, but on our order, the items that we're expecting to get back will show as green on our system, and the rest of the order items will show as red. If that item is in that packet, we can say item not returned. If there's a different item in that packet, we can identify it as an unknown SKU. It might be on that order history that they've sent back an item that's within that order. And we can then return that particular item and refund that one. If it may have been an order that they placed 6 months ago, we can send an API call through to our brand that we work with to understand, is it off a previous order history? If it's a complete product that is nothing to do with their order history and they're just trying it on, we can identify that within the system and it sends an email or a notification back to the brand and the retailer to say, this return has come through, it's not what was expected, please do not refund. And then that's up for the brand and the retailer to have that conversation directly with that customer. But we would not send the refund notice.
Okay, thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.